"Is this your mother?" said the doctor, standing over the boy's grandmother. "No," I replied. "It's the boy's grandmother. I was hoping I could leave him with her. I'm looking for the boy's father. I thought maybe he brought her here." "No, it was one of our nurses. She knew of the lady and her age condition." The doctor looked down at the boy and continued in a softer tone. "I did all I could for her. I'm sorry." "Don't worry, mister," said the boy. "I think it's better she's dead now." The doctor looked up at me with strange eyes. I looked at the boy to avoid the presumed line of questioning that this situation might pertain to. The doctor then took us for some routine blood tests. After doing so for about half an hour, he came back with the results. He told us that we both had the disease carried by the fog, the genetic radiation chemical weapon that's sole purpose was to destroy certain DNA strands, but unfinished was wiping out all strains of DNA. So it was believed. But many were still alive whilst the disease stayed dormant, maybe preparing the death that was to come. We don't really know what will happen next. Some people have died, but the death happened so rapidly. It's hard to do any kind of test to map the changes in the DNA, the cause of the death. Some have had strange dreams and white flashes, some hot temperatures, influenza-type conditions. It really depends on the individual DNA. "How come some live, some die?" said the boy. "I don't know. No one does. It seems to be random. Some look healthy, have stronger DNA or immune systems, but still they are the ones that are taken." "Taken," I said. The word seemed strange in connection with this juncture. The doctor continued. "We've been taking blood samples and doing tests for about 2 weeks now, but I've been unable to find anything. I've tried to contact other hospitals. I get no answer. Of those I've made contact with, they too have no more to add. I fear that we might find any cure, but too late." "Do you think there might be a cure?" "It was man who made this. Surely man can unmake it." "I'm not so sure. Man's propensity for evil seems sadly far more natural than his will to do good." "Were you born a cretin?" "Excuse me," I said. "You were born with a hyperactive thyroid, as I have none of your records, and your blood tests showed an indication of it." "No," I said. "I will have to give you some tablets later then, if we still have any in store." "Thanks," I said, thinking that this was the least of my troubles. The doctor told us to sleep upstairs, and so we did. Whilst the boy and I lay down to sleep, I thought about the deep impact of the doctor's results of our blood tests. Whilst without knowledge one could persuade oneself we were perfectly all right, but once those results were pronounced, it was sealed forever. I woke in the morning to another strange dream, which I related to the boy in order to bring a smile to his face. I saw the old single red bus I'd driven, which I was driving dressed in the clothes I wore then, and there at the back of the bus, instead of the last 2 rows of seats, was a piano, its keys being played by the young boy. The voice of the song was not his, but his lips synced. Like mine to the words it bellowed, the song was an old favourite, Paul McCartney's "Your Mother Should Know." As this jolly melody played, the bus passed by lots of people who would notice my red bus, that would turn in a flashing, multicoloured, swirly, psychedelic display. Occasionally I would be on the piano, shaking my head joyously to the tune, whilst the young boy drove the bus through the roads lined with big yellow flowers. At all times the boy and I were full of fun and joy, and it seemed as if in our bus was spreading all we passed, as in front was all grey, behind the colour was being filled in. The boy was laughing at my dream. I didn't tell him the rest, which veered away from this jolly dream, and not everyone on the street was happy with our jolly singing. There was what appeared the same woman and man all the way along, whose noses were raised high in the sky, their faces sour with hoitiness, shoveling money, coins, notes like sprouts and lettuce in their mouth, careful not to drop even the smallest penny. What the dream pertained to I am not sure, for the boy and I did not, as it were, bring joy to all we passed. Maybe it expressed my feeling of having an almost adopted son with me, and like in the real world, there are always some people who think better than you, that look down upon others' happiness with sourness and disdain. That morning I walked around the dingy hospital. I saw endless patients. One hall, which must have been a cafeteria, was lined with beds in distinct rows, each with a patient, white blanket on top. I did not dare to walk in, to see whether they were dead patients or on the brink of that great and final journey which all must undertake. One room, a father was telling his son, who lay in the bed, that he had to go off to take his lecture and would be back soon. That he would read him a story then. He turned and kissed his son and walked past me. I walked into the room. The boy was stone cold dead. My attention was turned to the room adjacent. A doctor was operating behind a white sheet on a man. The alarm on the machine he was connected to was ringing. The doctor and his staff were frantic, trying to reconnect some artery, or so it appeared, but the blood was spurting out of the disconnected end freely. After a while they stopped and stared at each other before declaring another victim his time of death. I wondered to myself whether the patient who had, I was told afterwards, been conscious moments before he had been forced to operate, whether he had felt his death, whether in that moment of death he felt himself falling unbeknown to us. We saw no facial expression, but man is contained not without the body but within. Inside somewhere we are hidden, controlling both the heart and mind. Do we feel that pain of leaving this earth, even if we are, to all intents and purposes, asleep? The lights faded once again and turned bright again. I could hear some kind of kerfuffle in the distance. I neared the entrance of the hospital, and there I saw a man fighting at the door. A doctor was trying to push some people back outside. As I got closer, my vision gained, as did my mind, full clarity. These people were not like us. They looked burnt and crisp, but their actions, the way they would stare, their eyes seemed bright white. As I entered the situation, I saw one of the men who was fighting with the doctor. Whilst doing it, he turned his head, leaning upwards directly at me. I saw his white eyes shining, but a blank expression on his face. His teeth then grimaced. These people reminded me of the tramps that I had befriended, and then had attacked me for no reason.